Israel, make no mistake. So be alert and stay awake, for goodness sake. It's time with Jake.
Hi, I am Jake. Beautiful. Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Jake, and this is Time with Jake. I'd like to maybe introduce myself. I was born in Germany in a DP camp after World War II. And when my father found out that one of his 13 children, the only survivor after the war, was in Israel, he moved to Israel. And we lived in Israel for quite a while, and that's where I went to elementary school. It was an Orthodox school run by the government. It was the Israeli government that was running just like a regular public school. This was a public school, but it was Orthodox oriented. And at the age of 13 or so, we came to the United States. In the United States, we first lived in Denver, Colorado, and I went to school in Chicago, to yeshiva for 4 years. And after that, we came to New York, where I went to Yeshiva University. I got a degree in a lot of degrees. Hebrew literature, Talmudical studies, philosophy, but I majored in college, I majored in math and physics. And after, with NYU, I also got rabbinical ordination, which was a special program that we had to stay afterwards. And in addition to that, I had to get another master's in some Jewish subject, which was Jewish philosophy. And after that, or at the same time, I went to Stevens Institute of Technology, where I got a master's in physics. And people are always asking me questions. And I'm interested in philosophy, I'm interested in all kinds of Jewish topics, and even Israeli politics. So if everybody has any questions, I'm always there to try at least to answer it. And this is what this program is all about. Hi, welcome back to Time with Jake. We were talking about questions that you may email me, and these are some of the questions that I received. Number one, a lot of people wanted to know, what is this skull cape that I have on my head? This is called a yarmulke, and what's the purpose of a yarmulke? Well, the yarmulke is basically there to remind us all the time that there's somebody above us. So therefore, everything that we do, even though nobody's watching, we know that somebody above us is watching. So therefore, you got at all times to do the right thing, even if you think that nobody watches. Of course, when we go to sleep, we take it off, and when we have to go to the barber, we take it off. When we go outside, we try to keep it on as a reminder. That's number one. Number two, if you know that there's something above you, it sort of like forces you to be a little bit more humble, because you know there's somebody always above you, whatever it is. So this is not one of the 613 important tenets of Judaism, but it was accepted. And I would say that in our days now, it is extremely important because it has a special meaning. Hi, my name is Jake. And if you have any questions about any of the topics that we mentioned, please email me at F, like Frank, J, Vitz, VITS, at AOL.com. All right, I'll repeat it again. It's F, like Frank, J, Vitz, V like Victory, IT like Thomas, S, FJVitz at AOL.com. Thank you. Hi, we're back. I'm Jake, and I have a guest with me. Her name is Lois McAndrew. Hi, Lois.
Hi, Jake. Hi, folks.
Okay, can you tell us something about yourself, where you're from?
Well, I'm a native Staten Islander. I was born here, and I left for about 10 years in the 60s and came back. And I'm living in the same building for 43 years, right here in the area. And I'm very happy to be a Staten Islander. And there was always a division of the people who were here before the bridge and the people after the bridge. Well, it's 50 years the bridge is here, so let's get past that.
Okay.
I'm here with Jake. I want to learn some things.
Okay.
I want to learn some things.
As you know, right, we are of the Jewish faith, and you are of a different faith, right? You're of the Christian faith, and you may have some questions or something that you would like to know, that you're interested in. I don't know all the answers, but if you have something, maybe I could at least have an insight into
Well,
something.
About the Jewish faith, I know some things. You know, I couldn't call myself that I have followed the information, but I know that there's a group called Jews for Jesus. And realistically, as a Catholic, a Christian Catholic, Jesus was the beginning of us, the Catholic religion, the Christians. And when I think of Jews for Jesus, I mean, Jesus was a Jew. Now, I believe strongly in my religion. But I have an open mind because Judaism has been here longer than Christianity. And so, could you just tell me simply about this group called Jews for Jesus? What is their story?
Okay, well, I did hear about Jews for Jesus. We know that there is such a group that exists. And tell you the truth, as Orthodox Jews, we do not look favorably upon that, because we feel that everybody should be entitled to his own choice and practice the way he wants to. And we don't like it when people come over and try to change our mind, forcefully sometimes, or sometimes, doing it in this deceitful way, which I've seen on television, many programs, where they have these Jews for Jesus. And when I first started seeing this program, I saw them, they had a prayer shawl, and they had the Jewish symbol and everything. And, it really fools the people, because people think that this is a sect of Judaism, which it's not. So in a devious way, they're trying to attract it to Jesus. And I don't understand why this is so important for the, for the Christian religion to try and convert other people. Let everybody do his own thing. That's what we believe in. In fact, if somebody wants to become Jewish, first of all, we try to dissuade him from being Jewish. We tell him no, and we push him away. Unless that person shows very, very strongly that he wants to become part of the Jewish nation. And, he sort of like gives up everything, even to the point where, you could see very much he wants this, then we start teaching him. But we do not want any converts, really, you know? So I'm really surprised that you have a need to do that. What is the need? Could you tell me? What is the need of Christianity to go around and to try to convert people to come into their fold? I mean, why aren't they happy with what they have?
I'm sorry.
So if you could answer that, I would be happy.
Well, having gone through 12 years of a Catholic education, although I'm 70 now, but I am the person I am now because of who I was. Every day you add to the person you are, but you are still the person you were. And the only people I know, personally, that convert from one religion to another, whether it be Christian to Jewish or Jewish to Christian, the only people I know or know of do it not through a need for a change of religious beliefs. They do it because they're a marriage, and sometimes it's the man agrees. If he marries a Jewish woman, he agrees to bring up the children under the Jewish faith. We go where the woman goes in Christianity. In other words, if a Jewish man would marry a Catholic woman, he would then have to say, I will let the children be raised Catholic. So, and then that's the only changing. And within my family, I have a niece and a nephew who both married into the Jewish faith.
Yeah.
One of them, she converted, and it was quite a process because she had been, well, actually she was married to my nephew. She converted and she went through the whole process.
She converted to Judaism.
And she had a Christian child with my nephew, and she also converted to Judaism. And she was about 13, I guess at the time, 12 or 13. And then she firmly believed in it. There were 3 more children born into the marriage. My niece keeps a kosher home. And, my great niece is very happy because she was never introduced to the Christian religion. So she unfortunately died in a car accident when she was 23 in college, and it was very, very sad for us.
Okay. So what you're saying over here is, number one, a lot of people are converting to whichever side, not because they really understand theoretically
right.
and philosophically that
Right.
they're so well
Versed,
educated or well versed into it, but they're doing it because of ulterior motives,
Right.
whatever it might be.
Right.
And then you also mentioned, I noticed that you said that that you go after the woman, and the guy has to agree, sort of like, to do that. Now, in Judaism, there's no agreeing or not agreeing. It doesn't matter. It's automatic. If the woman is Jewish, then the child is Jewish,
Right.
even if the husband was not Jewish. It goes after what the woman is.
Catholics too.
If
Christians.
Right, so there's no agreement. You don't have to agree one way or the other. If that happens, you have to have. If the woman happened to have a child from wherever it is, it goes after the woman. That's what we believe in Judaism.
But if the woman is Christian and the man is Jewish, the man has to give up his right to choosing the religion for the children.
It's not
Not to give up his right.
It's not that he has
It's
to
a
give
deal.
up.
They make the deal.
It's gone.
It's
If
the deal. It's
if the
gone.
kid was born to a mother who was not Jewish,
It's a
then the
Christian
kid
child.
the kid is not Jewish.
It's a
Right.
Christian child.
Right, he's considered not Jewish. So the only way he would become, the child would become Jewish is if he converted to Judaism. That would be the only way.
And what do you think about people who are in a marriage that way, 2 religions? They agreed at a time that Well, you know what, we're gonna let the children make their own choice. How can a child of 12 or 13 going with a secular education make a choice? And I would think that's about the time they would have to make the choice, when they're going to their teenage years.
Well, in Judaism, when a boy becomes 13, he becomes a full-fledged practicing Jew who could start making what we call the mitzvot, the commandments, and he's accepted as one of the fold, fully. And for a girl, it's 12. Now, if somebody gets converted, let's say a Jewish person goes and adopts, let's say, a child who was not Jewish, all right, and then you take that child, and that child, I guess, if he lives in Judaism, within a Jewish environment, eventually, he becomes Jewish. But they always tell him at the age of 12 for the girl and at the age of 13 for the boy, here's what happened, you were adopted, you were not Jewish, and you have a choice now. You could remain Jewish or you could go back to your old faith. Now, if the kid is not mature enough to make the decision, we hope he is, but at least we tell him, do you want to continue with this or not? He gets another chance later on. He could always revoke it, I mean, it's not written in stone, whatever it is, you could always revoke it. But, as long as a boy becomes circumcised, right, and starts doing the commandments, he's Jewish. For a girl, it's nothing, just studying the laws and accepting it. But we give him a choice. We do not force anybody to do anything. And that's why, my question is, why does Christianity have this need to go around and to try to convert people? I don't understand this.
Well, I just have a question.
Let people make their own minds up.
I just have a question because of what you just said. In other words, if a child is born in a what we used to call a mixed marriage of religion, and the child must decide for Judaism at the age of 12 for a man and at the age of 13 for a woman. Well,
It's just the other way
oh,
around.
the other way, a female 12 and a male 13.
13, right.
Okay, child. Now, if they were brought up in no religion, in other words, a Christian and a Jew get married, and they don't take the children to the shul, they don't take the children to the church or the Protestant, Catholic, whatever. And now, somewhere along the way, when they are, interact with other students, they're going to have the question, like, why don't we go somewhere else? Why don't we go to the temple on Saturday? Or why don't we go to the church on Sunday?
Questions are good.
Right.
Let them ask questions. Eventually, they're going to be mature enough to be able to make their own mind.
Right, but that's what education is about. Education is about learning.
Right.
And you can't learn unless you ask questions.
Exactly.
You must have the question to get the information. And they say with the tongue you get to roam.
Yeah.
You must interact. So if a child comes home at 7 years old and says, my friend Mary goes to church on Sunday, how come we don't? Now, they're going to answer because your mother is Jewish, your father is Jewish, and I'm Catholic, or whatever. And then that's
good.
But
Questions
then,
are
right,
good.
they're going to come home one day and say,
This reminds me of a story, if you don't mind.
Please.
I'll tell you.
please.
That's about questions. And you tell me if it's true, because this is the way this person told me, and I believe in her. I trust her. She's a nice lady. She happened to be a Christian lady. She was a devout Christian. And we were working together. We were the same colleagues at work. And she was telling me that her kids go to Catholic school. And the priest, all right, whoever's in charge, the principal and so on, has been calling her late, the past few weeks, and he says, your kids are causing trouble. I said, what's the problem? She says, they're asking too many questions. That's what she said. So in Judaism, the first thing that we try to promote is ask questions. That's the first thing. The more questions you have, the better you're off, I mean, there's certain things that we shouldn't ask, you can't go above the heavens and so on and so forth. But, there's a statement that says, you know, in Ecclesiastic, that Solomon wrote it. It says, there's nothing new under the sun, right? And so from there we learned that, you know, under the sun, you could ask questions, but above the sun, don't ask questions above the sun, you know? But questions are very important, and let everybody ask questions and try to make up their own mind.
Well, you know, I understand in a way how the teacher would feel if every question, and there are children like this. Of course, I have no children, so I'm only knowing from visualizing. But a child who keeps saying, why? Why? Why is not a question. So when a child does that, I could see where it's non-productive. It's a challenge, it's not a question.
You know, we have a Seder. You know the Seder?
The Seder when you
Passover?
have dinner, yes.
We got 4 questions.
Yes.
Every question begins with the word why.
But
Why
did this
Why?
happen? Why did that?
Why is this night different than all
Than
other
the other
nights?
nights, right.
So why is a very important question. That's a great question. That's a nice philosophical.
But a one-word
and if we don't have
question.
an answer, so
You can't just say
it doesn't
why.
matter. Yeah, every kid, you try to teach him according to the way he understands and according to his ability. But the question why is a great question. That's what I think.
Just the one word, why?
Yeah, in fact, I'll tell you something, a secret. Okay, I'll tell you a secret, but don't tell it to anybody. Okay, because
Are you
this
going to
is,
keep the
this
camera
is-
rolling? Because
this
this
is-
is a secret.
this is a real secret.
A
You know,
real secret.
Everybody has emails.
Emails.
And to get the email, when they first came out, you had to get a password and you had to get an email name. What do they call it? The address. What? Screen names. They
A
called it the
screen
screen
name?
name. The screen name.
You mean when
So
you
the first one that I
somebody.com?
ever, the first one that I ever had, you know, I consider myself a little philosopher. At least, I mean, you know, I try to think about it. You know, I'm not officially a philosopher, but I like to ask questions. So my screen name was Philo Why. Philo Why. Philosopher Why. Why? Why? You know, that was,
Philo, the letter Y.
well, Y
Yeah.
or WA, whatever you want. I think I wrote it with a Y.
Yeah.
Philo Why. In other words, I'm a philosopher and I ask why.
Uh-huh.
Philo Why. That was me. The philosopher asked
And,
why.
and
That's
then
a
would
great
I, if I
question.
wanted to put a screen name opposite of that, I would put believe. Believe, yes.
But you don't-
But
but-
then it would make me ignorant. If I
But
never
then-
asked the
But
question,
then I would
be
ask
ignorant.
you, then I would ask you the following question.
Mm.
What does believe mean? What does that mean? What does the word believe mean?
It means faith.
I don't know what that word means. I don't understand the word believe. I don't understand the word faith. What does that mean? Does that mean that, you know, you come out of the clear blue sky and you say, hey, I think that there's a person in India who could walk on fire. You believe. What is this? You came out of nowhere and you believe? What is this? You have faith out of nowhere? I mean, anybody who would think like this, you never met a person, you don't know anything, you come up with this thing like that, that's ridiculous.
Well,
That makes no
Right,
sense.
but-
So what does belief and faith, what does that mean? Now, if you look at the words, whatever they are, we believe in the Bible. We believe that the Bible was given by God to Moses and so on. And every word in the Bible, at least in the 5 books of Moses, they are divine. So if I wanted to know what believe means, I would go to the Bible. I would look at the word believe and how it was used, what context, and then I would make up the definition of the word believe. And if you look at the Bible, going back, we have the word believe. When God told Abraham for the first time, I've selected you, I've chosen you, whatever, and I will give this land to your children. Go outside, look at the stars and so on. And then it says, and Abraham believed, and God, or whoever it is, and he, it doesn't say. It says Abraham believed, and he considered it as a good act, a righteous act. Now, who considered what a righteous act? We don't know. Did Abraham consider that what God said was righteous act, or did God think that what Abraham did that? But the word believe over there means trust. You don't come up with a new idea that nobody even knows, and you make up a story which is ridiculous. But over there, the word means trust. In other words, God came to him, God spoke to him, God promised him something, and then he believed. So that's the word believe. That's what believe means. You do not make up things.
He did,
that,
but Abraham did
exist.
not know the land that God told him was going to belong to his people. But he had faith in the word of God to say, well, this is going to be my land.
He believed in God. He
Right.
trusted. Trust.
Right.
Believe means trust. That's what it is. It's not something that you make up. I don't believe in making up things and believe and what we call belief. The way we look at that word
By
believe,
we,
I
you
don't
mean,
believe it.
you mean
I
people
mean, no,
of the Jewish
society.
faith?
No.
The
In general,
general
society,
society, right,
believes the
right.
word believe is,
Yeah.
it's like something mystical. I don't know, believe or something. There's no such thing. If somebody tells you something and you trust the person, he's honest, he's kept his promise before, you believe, you trust. That's what belief is.
I have a question.
If I were to believe in Jesus, what would that mean? That would mean that I know Jesus, that I know what he said, made sense because I've seen it, I've proven it and so on. So I believe in it, I trust in him. But there's no belief. You come in, let's say, you say there's Jesus, believe in Jesus. There's no such thing. It means, it doesn't mean anything. You can't do that.
But you see,
Logically.
I don't mean to say but. My question, because we believe that God in the Christian religion is a Trinity. It's God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost.
Which is very, very difficult to understand. But
Okay.
now the way you're going to explain it to me, it's a miracle, so I don't have to think about it.
So
right?
God the Father sent his only Son
To get killed, to
die for the
to
sins
kill.
of man, to die for the sins of man.
He couldn't
No.
forget the sins of men. He had to die for it.
But here's the thing, here's the problem.
Very difficult to understand.
Here's the problem I
this
have.
concept.
I know who God is. In Judaism, when God speaks to,
What do you mean? I know who God is. I don't
God is God
understand.
the Father of Jesus Christ.
That's what they told you.
Right.
So you.
I believe. I have
so
faith
you,
in that.
So
It's
you
my
trust
faith.
it. You trust it.
It's
you,
my
you adopted
faith.
that as one of your concepts.
It's my faith
That's what
using
it
the
is.
word faith as a noun.
All right.
It's my faith. My question to you is, when you say God gave Abraham, who was God? Who was God in the Jewish religion?
God was the one who created the world and
But what do you call him?
created him. What's the difference what they call him?
But
God is
aren't you
God.
waiting for the
He's
Messiah?
the creator. Are we waiting for the Messiah? We've had messiahs throughout the ages.
Every-
Moses was the Messiah. Believe it or not, Cyrus, who was the king of Persia, was a Messiah also. It says, it uses the word Messiah for all these people. What is a Messiah? A Messiah is
A
just
messenger?
somebody. No, a Messiah is an anointed person, right? You believe that? That's
Yes.
in Greek. Christos means anointed
Christos.
one. But where does that come from? That's another story I like to talk about too. About the word Christian. Where does that come from? And nowadays it means anointed. Even the Greeks say Christos means anointed. Because at that time, a king or a leader, whether he was a prophet, a spiritual leader, or a political leader, was anointed.
So
Right, they
Jesus
put-
was the anointed one,
Well, that's what they say,
Yes.
anointed, because the anointed means like chosen,
right? Chosen.
right? But that's all it means. So there are people who chosen. David is called many times in the Bible. We have the word Messiah, Mashiach, for him, and we have Messiah, many other people. What is a Messiah? A Messiah is a person who helps you get out of your trouble. He saves you. Okay? Spartacus was a Messiah to his people over there because he took them out of bondage. They were working, they were slaves. He took them out. They had a rebellion and so on. He's a Messiah. That's what a Messiah means. Okay? So we have a lot of qualifications for a Messiah, and there are a lot of things that have to happen when there is a Messiah. And unfortunately, that's the way we look at it. We don't have peace in the world, and we don't have, if Jesus was the real Messiah, we shouldn't be fighting. We should have all these other conditions that they said. We should be all in Israel because the Messiah is supposed to lead us all in Israel. Everybody is supposed to understand the Word of God and so on. It's supposed to be peaceful. We have to live in unity and all of this, and all these things didn't happen. So it's very hard for the Jewish people to accept him as a Messiah. To say he was a
Right.
Messiah.
But now,
But but the word, but Messiah just, there could be many of them. Ultimately, before the end of the world, there will be another one. You know, there will be.
you're waiting for another.
Look, everybody's waiting to get out of trouble and to go to, you know, to a better world.
Better
and a
world.
we're all waiting for it. So that's going to happen when some guy comes in and unites.
I'm
It could be a
here.
political leader. You know, as
Yes.
far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, you know, even though I'm
God
Orthodox,
help us.
even though I'm Orthodox,
Uh-huh.
okay, we have a prime minister of Israel whose name was Ben Gurion,
Ben Gurion.
right, who was not even Orthodox, he was not even religious. But as I know he read the Bible a lot.
Mhm.
Okay, in my book, if you would ask me, I believe that he fulfilled a lot of the qualifications of being a Messiah. He was able to gather the Jews
He
from
brought
four
peace.
corners of the world
Right.
and bring him there and help for the creation of Israel. And I would say even, you know, that
Was
a
he-
lot of the qualifications, a lot of the things that the prophets, when they talk about the Messiah, they say this and this and this will happen. He fulfilled a lot of them.
Well, was this in 1948 when
Yes.
Israel became a state?
Well, in 1948, he established a state, but he worked much before that.
Years before,
To unite the
right,
people.
right.
He brought people from all over, literally speaking,
Yes.
from all the Jews. That's one of the requirements for a Messiah to do. If you look at the
Right.
Isaiah and you look where they talk about the Messiah, what he has to do, these are some of the requirements, and he has fulfilled a lot of them.
But just like America, we have presidents. I mean, the last premier was Kahani?
No,
Like I-
Kahane
no.
was never,
No?
he was just a politician.
He's a
That's all-
politician.
that's all
But
he
you
was.
said that a politician could
Anybody
become the
could
next
be.
Messiah.
He was just a politician, that's all.
Oh, is that a fact?
He was a very Zionistic and very, very conservative,
Really?
okay? Yes.
Is that good
He-
or bad for Israel?
Well, is it good, bad for Israel? Let me tell you what Israel did. Israel barred him from becoming a member of the Knesset.
The Knesset
The
being
Knesset is
I
like
know,
the parliament, and they
yes.
barred him. Why? Because one of his tenets that I believed in is to transfer the Arabs, to take him from Israel, transfer him outside. He said they have to leave the territory.
And the Knesset didn't
Well,
agree
the
with that.
Jewish people didn't, the Knesset and so on, at that time they didn't believe in it. But so they called him racist,
Hmm.
right? And therefore they did not allow him to do that. But I want to mention something, okay? Take the United States. In the United States, we had a guy called David Duke. I think
Oh,
he was. I
Is he
think
still
was-
alive? I don't
I
think
think he
David
was
Duke is
from
still alive. Louisiana.
Louisiana,
Yes.
wherever. Okay, so he believed in whatever he believed.
Yes.
You know what he believed.
Oh, he was
He was
crazy.
against blacks, and he was against
Yes.
Jews, and he was a member of the Ku Klux Klan,
Yes,
probably,
yes.
and all of that. And guess what? They allowed him to be a
Senator, I think.
not a senator, a representative or whatever in the House of Representatives, so on.
In the
So,
Congress.
so we're talking about democratic country. Who's more democratic? Israel or the United
But
States?
you're going
In
back
Israel, they
40
kicked them
years.
out. They would not allow him
But you're
to
going
offer.
back 40 years.
Wherever we go,
when-
this is it.
You know, when David Duke was probably the very first white supremacist ever that we ever heard of. There might have been more before him, but he didn't
was a
like
modern
anybody.
time. He was a modern time.
He-
He was
we-
just the Ku Klux Klan goes back much.
I say, but he was the first,
earlier.
well, in other words, they were a secret society at that time for so many years,
This
for
was much-
decades and decades.
This was already after the Ku Klux Klan
But-
went.
but David
died,
Duke was the
but
first-
He still believed in that.
He was the first
No, he's modern times. We're
white
talking modern
white supremacist to come out.
times. No, people
to
know
come
about
out.
these things.
I just wanted to mention one thing that I learned from, I have good association with many people of the Jewish faith. I am just retiring from my job at Baruch College, and it was such a melting pot. It was so wonderful. I live a charmed life to have had that experience for 20 years. The students and the faculty and the staff. I worked with the public safety department, and the students, I could kiss the ground they walked on because they made my job so easy. I was more like a politician, excuse the expression, because I just settled things right there. There was never police actions being made because the majority of the students, as per Bernard Baruch, were there with one purpose: get an education, go out into the world, become successful.
Well, I like
That
that
was it.
public safety. In
Yes.
fact, tell you a quick story. Just the other day, my last class that I have here in Staten Island College, we walked into the room, and I hear one of these vents making a lot of noise, you know, and the kids sitting underneath it, they were cold, they were freezing. The air conditioning was coming out, it was cold outside. And so I don't know anything. You know, there's a number you call, CSI number.
Right.
There's a main number you call, and you get automatically connected to
Public safety.
to a machine.
Oh, no.
It's a machine. It's like an operator, and you have to talk and you have to say who you're looking for. So I don't know who I'm looking for. The only ones I know is public safety. So I called up. I said, "All right, connect me to public safety."
Yeah.
So they connected me to public safety. So I told them, "Listen, we got this noise over there. The kids are complaining." I called. And they said, "Okay, we'll get the guy for you." And 2 minutes later, somebody shouted, "They're the greatest."
Yes.
Every
yes.
time I have a problem, that's who I call.
Yes.
That's the number that I know. They're very nice.
My point being, I learned this wonderful phrase, and I just want to know how it's associated with a Messiah. When somebody does a good act, we just say he's a mensch. And I always heard Jewish people say he's a mensch, and I would say, I guess, why? Oh, because he helped me with this and he helped me with that. So I said, my goodness. So the first time I said it to another Christian, I said, "You're a real mensch."
Right. So the word
You know what
men,
he said? Oy vey.
that's good. That's good. Basically, the word mensch, when you say mensch, it just means he's a real human being.
Good,
You
good.
know, real human being.
Yes,
That's
yes.
what it means. He's
Yeah.
a good guy, you know, and he has a feeling towards people and so on, and he's very nice. That's what a mensch means, you know. It's like real human being.
Well, I had the great opportunity to work at Temple Emmanuel in Manhattan for 3 years of the celebration of Passover and Hanukkah, because the company I was working for had the contract. And it was very surprised. I was very surprised. I did that. I did the hat check room sometimes, but because I don't have any children, they figured let her work the Tat Shabbat. That's a place where all the children were sent while the adults went to the services, and then I had to entertain little children. You know. And I entertained them by pretending I didn't like them. And it worked. It was wonderful. But I was very surprised at the men. In other words, I want to take their coat. You know, they wouldn't let me help them. They
They were Orthodox.
jumped away
We're
from me.
talking about Orthodox?
Yes, they jumped away from
They
me.
keep away from women. Separation, man,
So how
of the
would-
sexes.
So, I mean, if I wanted to go out and help an elderly man put his coat on, I shouldn't do it.
No, you know,
Somebody else will
physical,
come.
no physical contact
I see that.
between men and women.
I understand.
They don't have any physical contact with anybody except their wives.
And then, for a few years, I mean, you were the bad hand, I'm the hitter.
I'm not that. I'm not that.
I worked for 1 year in a totally Orthodox complex, Bedford Gardens in Brooklyn.
I know that place.
Right, and they
They
needed.
make weddings over there, right?
Well, they made, Brooklyn Garden, no, Bedford Gardens, it was a housing complex made expressly for
Oh,
Hasidim,
something else, yeah.
because the elevators were set that you never had to
Right.
touch them,
Right,
and the doors had certain locks on them,
right,
and the stoves were made a certain way.
right.
And because of, I don't know what could I say, equal opportunity, or what's that other phrase? You know, where like they must hire a woman, okay?
Quotas.
Yeah, they had a quota, this company.
Right.
So because I had a carry permit, they hired me. Because it was a permit, you know, you had to have a firearm, And they had to have women, they had to have blacks, they had to have Puerto Rican. So there we are, all these goyim working these things and trying to figure it out. And I was going to college at the time, so it was good because it was kind of quiet, you know. And they would run up to us and say, "Can you make a phone call to such and such? Because my daughter is having a baby."
Right,
They couldn't use the phone.
right, they couldn't use the phone.
Right.
They have to have a non-Jewish
Right,
person.
and even if there was a traumatic thing going on in their apartment, they couldn't call us.
Right,
Although we had phones in 3 booths, they would send a messenger.
right.
Yeah, in the winter, in the dead of winter, somebody would call through snow and say, so
Well,
and
if it was a
so.
matter of life and death,
They
they
can
would be
use
allowed
it.
to do
Yes,
it.
yes,
But
if they had to
not,
call an ambulance
they
or
don't
something.
do- they don't
But if
do
they
that.
had a water leak that was going through the seal, through the roof, floor, and that, they would, as you say, they come to us because they don't know how to get the plumber or the carpenter, but we did, you know. And it was such a wonderful experience for me. Again, I was in college, and the experience was the children were just in awe of me being a woman with a
With a
firearm.
with a gun. Wow.
Yeah, with a firearm.
Pistol.
They would bring their friends and say, "Could you show my friend what you have?" And I was so tempted to say,
Did you see the movie? Did you see the movie Stranger Among Us?
"No,
Go to the library, get that book out. I think you're gonna
Stranger
like it.
Among Us."
I
Okay.
think A Stranger Among Us. I think you're gonna like that.
I'm always
You
hungry.
invite your friends over
I
there
will.
to watch it together with you.
I'm always hungry to learn more about religions other than Catholicism, because I want to tell you, this is a terrible thing to say, but I was the youngest of, I grew up the youngest of 10 children in a Catholic, Irish Catholic surroundings. And my mother was Italian, but she passed when I was 3 years old, and I went to live with my Irish side of the family. And there were 5 of us, and they had 5 children, but I was still the youngest. And I can tell you this is so strange, but I'm going to tell you. As an adult, when I would hear curse words, I heard curse words that were not familiar to me. And people would say to me, my friends, when I was at 14 or 15, they would say, "How come you never curse?" And I said, "Well, I only hear 2 curse words in my house." And they said, "What?" And I said, "Democrat and Democrat and Protestant were the only two curses I heard."
Okay.
When something went wrong, my Uncle Tommy would say, "Well, what do you expect from a GD Democrat?" Or he would say, GD meaning goddamn,
Yeah.
but he wouldn't say the words. And then he would say, "Well, of course he did that wrong. He's a Republican. He's a Democrat." And so I grew up knowing not even Protestants. I couldn't associate with Protestants because they went to a different church. It was like Catholic alone. No other, I think I was probably 30 years old when I started using the phrase Christian, because Catholics are not alone. We are part of Christianity.
Right. So it's been very nice speaking to you, and
Can we do
I
this
learned
again?
something. Sure, you can. If
It's
you have
okay,
any
don't
question,
shake your hand. I'm sorry, I shouldn't shake your hand.
Sorry, don't worry about it.
You're gonna go take a shower?
I'm
Okay.
not, no. It's not so simple, this idea, but thank you very much. I learned a lot. I hope you learned
I
a
hope
lot.
these people
If
learned
you have
a
any
lot.
questions, come back next time. We could always talk about it. I know you're interested in other religions and so on, as you said. I just end one thing, by the way. In Hebrew, there are no curse words. All the curse words that people use in modern Israel, they're taken from other languages. But in Hebrew, Hebrew there's no curse words.
So how do you berate
That's why it's
someone?
called the holy language.
How do you berate someone then?
Well, that's either you use some of the other words over there,
Oh,
or you have to talk a lot, to explain
And
what you have to
I
do.
just wanted to say one thing that I learned from, we have a neighbor, a wonderful Arabic man, actually he's Egyptian, and he's a Muslim. And we were talking to him about my sister Mary goes to Mass every day of her life, and she prays for everyone. And he said, and I said, Mary said to him, well, when they have the singing, when we have a high Mass, they have the singing. And she said, do they do that in the Muslim religion? He said, there is no singing in the Muslim religion. There's no songs. You mean nothing? Never sing? He said, no, the children don't know anything about singing. He has 4 beautiful children. So, you know, we all live with our beliefs, our faiths, and you explained it so well that when I leave here, I'm writing it down, because I'm going to tell that to other people like that. Thank you
Okay,
again, sir.
Thank you very much for coming
Thanks,
in,
Jake.
and we'll
And
see
thank
each
you.
other again.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome back to Time with Jake, and I'd like to speak about another question that people emailed me, and that was the question about Jewish women shaving their heads. What is the purpose of that? Well, as you know, in Judaism, we try to keep the sexes apart. We don't want the women to somehow get enticed or entice anybody else where it leads to undesirable behavior. A marriage should stay in the house between the husband and the wife, and if the wife wants to attract anybody, it should be attracting the husband and not anybody else. Now, what do you do in order not to attract other people? Well, of course, it depends, you know, on how you dress. Can do a lot with it. You know, you could dress in a very provocative way and so on. So we try to watch that, and we dress appropriately. Another thing is women's hair. Women's hair is considered to be a very attractive part of a woman, and therefore it should be covered and only revealed to her husband. And the question is, how do you cover it? Of course, you could just put something on it and it's covered and so on. And some people want to be extremely strict about it, and the way they cover it is by cutting it off. So they put other things on their head. They could either put some kind of a kerchief or some hat or even a wig. That would be okay, as long as it's not the actual natural woman's hair. And again, as we say, this is just to make sure that there's modesty, and the attraction only goes to the husband and nobody else. Yeah, hi, we're back, and now we have a guest from the audience. Her name is Rosalind Wolf, and she's Jewish, and she has a question that she would like to ask over here.
My son and daughter, who are Jewish, of course, they adopted a baby 22 years ago, and as soon as she came to their home, actually she was a week old, they had her converted, took her to the mikveh, and had her converted into the Jewish religion. Now, I understand that at 12 years of age, she should have been told that she was not born Jewish?
Yes, as far as I know, I mean, this is the way it has to be done. Okay, I don't know if they followed the protocol or they didn't, but we always give the children a chance to either continue with their Jewish religion or go back to their roots, to whatever they were beforehand. And we do that for a girl when she's 12 years old, because at that time she is considered to become officially a member of the Jewish fold, and from now on she's responsible for her own actions and so on. And for a boy, as we said, the age is 13. So if they followed the correct protocol, they would have to tell her that, you know, you have a choice, because otherwise, you know, when you're a kid and you do it, you're not doing it from your own will, then, you know, you're not Jewish. The only time you're Jewish against your will is if you're born from a Jewish mother. Then you're a Jewish no matter what, And even if you convert to Christianity, believe it or not, you still remain Jewish. Once you're Jewish forever. And that's it. You know? So I'm sure they must have done it, and if not, they just didn't follow the protocol. Everybody was happy. Maybe it was understood that she's going to continue with that way, and there was no objections. But the right thing to do is to tell them. And since you mentioned it, I'd just like to mention something here, that it is preferred usually for people who adopt babies, let's say Jewish, I'm talking about the Jewish people who adopt babies, is to adopt somebody from the non-Jewish religion. It's not because we want to get more Jews, you know, we want to proselytize them, or we want to convert more people and so on. That's not the reason. There is a problem. There's a problem religiously speaking, according to halakha, what we call the Jewish law. There's a problem. Okay? What could be the problem? Number one, a lot of times, especially many, many years ago, you know, if you had a person who needs to be adopted, you didn't know who the parents were, you didn't know anything, and now you got a lot of problems, because you take him into the fold, he could end up marrying a sister or somebody else, you know, things like that, because you don't know. So you don't have this problem with a non-Jew, because once he becomes Jewish, it's as if he had no family at all. Okay, so you don't have that problem. Another problem comes in, we spoke about that too, and the previous guest spoke about it, that she was trying at one time, she was in charge of a coat room, and she was trying to help the Orthodox males to put on their coat, and they weren't happy with it because there's physical contact. Now, that's another problem. You're getting a kid who's Jewish, supposedly, right? And he grows up, and he's got this mother, supposedly his adopted mother, right? Now you got a problem, because he's a boy, she's a woman, and you're not allowed to have contact, because it's not her son. You can have contact with your own son, with your husband, with your own daughter, you can do that. But if it's not biologically your son, you can't have contact legally. So that's another problem that gets presented. So because of some of these halachic problems that you have, they try to convert somebody who's not Jewish, and, you know, they bring him into the fold, and so on. However, when they become mature enough to understand what's going on, you must tell them what their origin is, and they must themselves accept upon themselves to continue to be Jewish. You give them the opportunity. You cannot force anybody to be Jewish. Okay, thank you very much for your question, and
Thank you.
anytime you have any other questions, come into the audience or wherever, we'll give you an opportunity to ask, and hopefully I will be able to shed some light upon it. Thank you. Hi, welcome back to Time with Jake. Another question that people ask me a lot is about this myth of having relations, sex, with your wife through a sheet, a hole in the sheet, as they say it. Now, I want to say that this, to me, does not make sense at all, because we have a verse in Genesis that says, man shall leave his father and mother and cling to his wife. Now, if you have a sheet separating between you and your wife, you're not really clinging. And in fact, according to halacha, you're not supposed to do it with any separation. You're supposed to actually touch body to body. And that is the clinging. That's part of the clinging. Of course, you have a child. That's the real clinging. You become a unit through having a child. But the rabbis have explained that part of this word clinging also means that you should be, skin to skin. And therefore, it's very hard to believe in this myth. And whoever does it is doing it maybe on his own account, or because he wants to be extremely strict about the rules of modesty maybe, or he doesn't want to have any physical pleasures. He's doing things, to procreation, for procreation and so on, and he wants to avoid physical pleasures, but it's not really the Jewish thing to do. Hi, I'm Jake, and welcome back to Time with Jake. One of the other questions that I'm asked often is about these curly locks that we see on many Orthodox Jews, especially in the Hasidic sect. And what is the purpose of these locks, these ear locks?
Paces.
Which we call payas. We call these payas. Payas means like edges, the edge of a field would be called a payah. So what are these payas? What is the purpose for them? And again, we spoke about that in Judaism, there are many laws and many prohibitions against doing things which have been in the past practiced as pagan rituals. And one of the pagan rituals was to have certain haircuts, like round heads. They shaved off everything above their ear, and they made it like a round type of a haircut. And especially the priest, the pagan priest, used to do it. And therefore, we are prohibited from shaving certain parts of the head, the two sides of your hair, also number of spots on the chin, and just to make sure that we keep it the proper way and we don't have it shaved in any way or form or shape that looks like what the pagans have done as the practices when they practice their rituals. So some sects, some Jewish Orthodox people go one step further, and they make sure that they never reach anywhere near this type of a ritual. So they grow their payas, they make it long, as a reminder maybe, or as a fence not to come to the real prohibition, which is to imitate the pagan rituals. Thank you very much for all of you for watching. I'm Jake, and this has been Time with Jake.
For goodness sake, it's Time with Jake. He is real, make no mistake. So be alert and stay awake, for goodness sake. It's Time with Jake.
Hi, I am Jake.